Tonight, in the midst of a change of leadership at Amarillo Animal Management, progress at the shelter is being called into question by several individuals close to the agency.
Investigative reporter David Grosso-Ortega is looking into the facts tonight, and he's here with us now. David?
Larry, Lisa, it's been 3 weeks since we first brought you a special report on the progress at Amarillo Animal Management and Welfare. Anticipating our report that night, the city put out a press release detailing what they called progress. And tonight, as promised, we're digging deeper and fact-checking some of the claims made by the city. This press release was sent to us by the city of Amarillo only hours before our special report on October 30th. It outlined progress at the shelter, which has faced a wave of media attention since the improper euthanasia scandal over 6 months ago that ended with the dismissal of management.
Honestly, I think that they knew that Channel 7 was going to run a story that could look very negative on the city and on animal management and welfare. So this was a way to try to counter that story.
The 3-page press release listed a number of claims, including the headline that euthanasia numbers drop as shelter progress continues. So we set out to fact check, starting with euthanasia statistics.
I do think the city has made a lot of progress, but we still don't have accurate statistics on euthanization. They've never had a computer system. They were doing it with tick marks.
McFall and Hodge Campbell say there's no software being used at the animal management shelter, despite the press release claiming otherwise.
So we don't really know the number. And so I find it interesting that all of a sudden we have statistics where we haven't had them for previous years before.
William Kearns of Pause for Change says that the high kill rate might be dropping, but it's still way too high. A recent report on the shelter published by KVII Institute claims that there are no reliable statistics available because the shelter has never kept good records.
We killed over 8,000 animals last year, which in comparison to Colorado, which killed only 7,000 for the entire state, is just unacceptable.
And the KVII Institute report that was paid for by the city and touted as a huge leap forward in the press release, Judy Gladwell of 72 Hours Until Death says the study was conducted by a consultant that was fired for improper euthanasia practices at another shelter.
Amarillo had somebody in here telling us what we needed to do as a city to lower the numbers and improve the shelter whenever she did the exact same thing that our previous director did.
And while the press release also claims that the relationship with rescue organizations is improving, note the misspelling, Gladwell disagrees.
The animal control is not working good with the rescues. They need to provide us with the euthanasia list so that we can do a last-minute save on the pets. And they just don't, they have no set days for euthanizing the animals.
Everyone we spoke with says some of the city's claims have occurred, but that many are still in progress and cannot yet be labeled problem solved. Lisa, Larry, the city did not return our request for a written statement or an interview, and everyone we spoke to said progress is taking place, but it has been slow because there were so many issues when the reform started. Residents tell me there are serious concerns about the city claiming problems are solved, when many of our sources say those changes haven't taken place yet or are still in progress.
All right, David, thank you. Next, then, happening right this second.
We go to Ferguson, Missouri, where violent protests are now erupting in the streets following the announcement of the grand jury's decision of no indictment.
The grand jury decided to not indict police officer Darren Wilson in the death of Michael Brown.
Chris Welch has more from Ferguson as authorities are now calling for peace.
They determined that no probable cause exists to file any charge against Officer Wilson and returned a no true bill on each of the 5 indictments.
That's the decision from the St. Louis County Grand Jury. Officer Darren Wilson will not be indicted in the shooting death of 18-year-old Michael Brown. The Brown family has asked for 4.5 minutes of silence before any potential protests begin tonight to signify the 4.5 hours Brown's body lay in the street following the shooting. In a statement, the family said, "We are not here to be violent. We are here in memory of our son. We are here for protection of all children." The 12 jurors came to their decision after months spent reviewing evidence and testimony surrounding Brown's death. Police said there was a struggle, with Brown trying to grab Wilson's gun and that the officer fired in